Hello, Sunshine Fam. My name is Chloe. I'd like to welcome you to my channel. If you are new, I would love it if you would hit that subscribe button below with the notification bell. Please like my videos, share them, comment on the videos, and basically what I do is presidential highlight videos and Adventures with Chloe videos, but I will get into more of that in a blog video. Today, after 2 months of being on hiatus, we are going back into our presidential highlights videos, trucking along here at a very slow pace because I started this like 3 years ago. And I meant to have it done in a few short months, and here we are like 2-3 years later, and it's still not good. Still not done. So today we are talking about our 42nd president, which was Bill Clinton. Here is a picture of Bill Clinton. And there was a lot of scandal during his time. So when you hear the word Bill Clinton, or hear the name Bill Clinton, of course you think about the scandal. But a lot actually happened during his time in office. So I will be showing you some pictures along the way here. So please forgive me for kind of like not having it flow as normal as it normally does. And of course we got Dusky behind me, or beside me here. So Bill Clinton served from 1993 to 2001. His vice president was Al Gore. Now, a lot of people would know Al Gore. I believe he's the one that went around the country and talked about global warming after he was vice president. So let's just get into the key events of Bill Clinton. So in 1993, January 20th, Clinton was inaugurated. January 25th, Hillary Rodham Clinton, his wife, was to head the health care reform. So the First Lady, Hillary Clinton, will head the task force. The president hopes for health care reform so that all Americans have insurance. It was called the Universal Coverage, and it was to help control the high costs of health care. February 5th, the Family Medical Leave Act, or FMLA, it requires companies to provide workers with up to 3 months of unpaid leave for family and medical emergencies. February 26th, there was an explosion at the World Trade Center. Now, this is not 9/11, obviously, because it happened on February 26th of 93. What happened at this point, this was the first explosion at the World Trade Center. 6 people were killed and over 1,000 people were injured. It was under the leadership of a man named Ramzi Yousef. A moving truck was filled with explosives, and it was parked in the basement of the World Trade Center. What he wanted to do was to take down both buildings, but he failed. Now here I'm going to refer a couple times to a document, well, not really a documentary, but it was a made-for-TV movie called Path to 9/11. I encourage you to look that up because it has a lot of information about what happened in 9/11, and a lot of stuff that happened in the beginning of the movie was in Clinton's term in office. Ramzi Yousef, incidentally, is currently serving time in a high-security prison in Colorado. So our tax money is going to keep this guy in our prison. He is still alive. The same day, February 26th, Al Gore heads the National Performance Review. It devises the initiative which entitles the Reinventing Government. It reduces the number of federal employees and cuts federal spending. A percentage of it was for the GDP, or the gross domestic product. March 11th, Janet Reno becomes the Attorney General. She is the first woman to serve in this position, and she was Clinton's third choice. Sorry, I keep looking over, but I've got my camera aimed at a mirror behind me so that if the battery starts to flash, then I'll know that it shuts off. And if it shuts off, if I'm getting close to the 18 minutes, then I'll know when I can do the edited video. April 19th, Waco, Texas. Okay, so many of you may not remember about Waco, Texas, but let me show you. Let's see here. The compound. I don't really want to show you any disturbing pictures here. We will not show you that one. I'll show you this picture. Okay, so this is what the compound looked like that a man named David Koresh and his followers were a part of. That's where they stayed. Okay. So federal law officers and FEMA, I didn't write it down, but the federal law officers and FEMA and a 51-day siege with David Koresh and the Branch Davidians. At least 75 people died. 25 of those were children. It was started on February 28th. 4 government officials and 6 Davidians died on that day in a shootout. Now, it was said that neighbors of the Branch Davidians were reporting hearing gunfire from automatic rifles. And so they alerted the police, and the police went out and tried to do a search on the house, and the Branch Davidians refused them entrance. The Branch Davidians were a cult. They still exist today, although not in large numbers as they were on that particular day. But there was a lot of controversy behind Waco, Texas. I won't get into it here. So if you want to know anything about it, there's plenty of videos here on YouTube that you can look up. There's plenty of information about it. June 26th, the Navy attacks Baghdad. Learning that the Iraqis plotted to kill President Bush, Clinton made the order. I'm sorry. Let me go back. Learning that the Iraqis plotted to kill President Bush during an April 93 visit, Clinton made the order for the Navy to attack Baghdad. 23 Tomahawk missiles were shot into Baghdad, and it killed 8 people. July 19th was Don't Ask, Don't Tell. There was a debate of gay participation in the military. So basically what this program did was it allowed gay people to serve in the military, but they could face investigation if they admitted to it. I don't think that program exists anymore. I didn't do a lot of digging on that one. July 20th, Vince Foster death. He was the deputy counsel to Clinton, and he was found in Northern Virginia, in a Northern Virginia park. It was ruled as a suicide, but federal investigators would later reopen the case. August 3rd, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She was appointed to the Supreme Court, replacing the retiring Byron White. She was the second woman to sit on the High Court. August 10th, Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act. It reduces the budget deficit by $496 billion through 1998. And it combines spending cuts and tax increases. Okay, we're still going. September 13th, Clinton presides over a ceremony, which was held in Washington, D.C. It was known as the Declaration of Principles, or Oslo I Accord. It was between Israel's Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin and Palestinian Liberation Organization, or the PLO, Chairman Yasser Arafat. And they signed this agreement. September 22nd, Clinton unveils a health care plan. All Americans will have high-quality health care and can pick their own doctor, their own physician. October 3rd, the Battle of Mogadishu. U.S. Special Forces stormed the compound in Somalia to capture aides of Mohammed Farrak Aidaya. Aidaya. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I usually butcher these foreign names, so please forgive me. Somalis shot down 2 helicopters and forced ground troops to hide and wait for help. It began as Operation Restore Hope under President Bush's administration to help the economy from their, they had like a civil war going on at the time. October 4th, American forces ambushed in Somalia. 18 people were killed. So that was like the next day. So I think I think I said that twice actually. Or I didn't write it down. Okay, so November 30th was the Brady Act. It requires a 5-day waiting period and background check for anyone purchasing a handgun. It was named after James Brady, who was the man shot during the Reagan assassination attempt. December 8th, NAFTA creates the Free Trade Zone. So NAFTA stands for North American Free Trade Agreement. It eliminates almost all the barriers for trade between the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. Bush originally sponsored the deal on December 17th of 1992. 1994, January 10th, Clinton attends a NATO summit. The meeting was held in Brussels, Belgium. It announces that the U.S. will keep 100,000 troops in Europe. It introduces the Partnership for Peace, which builds closer ties between NATO and the former Warsaw Pact states. So NATO stands for North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Now, the 13 military personnel countries that were involved in this are Greece, Estonia, Portugal, Montenegro, Lithuania, Norway, Turkey, and Latvia. As of 2023, there are 30 countries that are a part of NATO, and they are Albania, Bulgaria, Belgium, Croatia, Canada, Denmark, France, Greece, the Czech Republic, Estonia, Latvia, Germany, Hungary, Lithuania, Iceland, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, which used to be called Holland, Montenegro, North Macedonia, Romania, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Slovakia, Slovenia, to my PJ friends, Spain, Turkey, the US, and the UK. It's a lot of countries. February 3rd, Vietnam trade embargo is lifted. It ends a 19-year-old embargo and notes Vietnam is trying to locate 2,238 American MIAs from the Vietnam War. March 26th, China trade status is renewed. It was called the most favored nation. Not much progress was made on human rights from China at that point. June 14th, Clinton talks welfare reform. During his campaign in 92, he promises to end welfare as we know it. Not much is really talked about regarding this welfare reform in here, so you're more than welcome to do your own research about it. July 25th, Israel-Jordan talks. Clinton meets with Rabin and King Hussein of Jordan, not Saddam Hussein. They agree to end 50 years of antagonism. August 26th, Congress delays the health care reform. September 13th, Clinton expands police and death penalty. It's called the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act. It includes hiring 100,000 policemen. The death penalty includes more than 50 federal crimes. September 18th, it did not go into detail about what those 50 crimes were, though. September 18th, Haiti general cedes power. So Raul Cedras agrees to cede his power. The UN tried over a year to restore Jean-Bertrand Aristide, who was overthrown in a coup on September 30th of 1991. Okay, we're still good. October 9th, deterring invasion of Kuwait. Now, this is the second time. I don't remember this, but if you remember, during Bush's time is when the Gulf War happened, and that's when I had my interview with my friend Terry in Illinois, who happened to be in the Army during that time. Clinton plans to send 35,000 plus troops to thwart Iraq from again invading Kuwait. 3 days prior to this, the Iraqis pull back. Probably why I don't remember it, because nothing much happened there. November 8th, the Republicans gained seats. It was the first time in more than 40 years that that's happened. So 53 to 47 in the Senate and 230 to 214 to 1 in the House. So I'm guessing that one was maybe a liberal, could be, independent, not sure. December 1st, the General Agreement on Tariffs is approved. GATT, which is the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, it has 117 nations, including the U.S. It cuts tariffs. Oh, shoot. Okay. It cuts tariffs by 1/3 plus on products and creates more free international trade. December 5th, START 1 is signed in Budapest. Clinton and the presidents of Belarus, Kazakhstan, Russia, and the Ukraine sign this agreement. START stands for Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty. It eliminates more than 9,000 warheads. 1995, January 23rd, the Congressional Accountability Act. It requires Congress to abide by anti-discrimination workplace rules. January 31st, emergency loans to Mexico. U.S. Treasury Department makes emergency loan of $20 billion to forego financial crisis between Mexico and the U.S. April 19th, Oklahoma City was bombed. Okay, so let me go in here. Oops, you don't want that. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay. This is the best picture here. Okay, so as I talk about this, I'm going to just show you the picture here. That's the picture. At the Alfred P. Murray building in Oklahoma City, an American parked a truck on the street filled with explosives. As you can see, it blew off the majority of the front of this building, killing 168, including children. 680 were injured. Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols were behind it. So let's look up Timothy McVeigh. I believe he is now dead. I think he died in prison. He was caught. Okay, well, here's a picture of his mugshot. So that's the man that was responsible for the Oklahoma City bombings. Okay. Okay. July 11th, the U.S. recognizes Vietnam. It gives full diplomacy 22 years after the war, or as some people like to refer to it, as a police action. August 30th, NATO begins strikes on Serbia for the second time. It takes 2 weeks, and it has strong U.S. contingency. Okay, not sure where it turned off, so I'm just going to repeat what I just said. Actually, I'll go back one. So, October 23rd, improving U.S.-Russia relations. Clinton and Boris Yeltsin meet in Hyde Park, New York, and talk about how to improve relations, including nuclear arms. November 21st, principal peace in Bosnia. It was called the Dayton Peace Accords, and it was held in Ohio. Representatives from Bosnia, Croatia, and Serbia talk about a peace agreement. Now, those countries were part of a country called Yugoslavia, but that broke up in 1991. November 29th, Clinton urges peace in Ireland. So Northern Ireland always had clashes between the Catholics and the Protestants, even to this day. November 16th, the Battle of the Budget. Congress can't agree on how to balance the budget. This resulted in a partial government shutdown. And the battery's flashing. Hang on a second, guys. Okay, sorry about that. I really need better batteries for my camera. turn myself this way a little bit more. Okay. All right. Okay, so now we're into 1996. January 23rd, Clinton's State of the Union. It was the era, he said, the era of big government is over, which kind of reminds me of Hamilton. April 9th, yeah, I know, Silver Star. April 9th, line item veto approved. The president can veto items in spending and tax bills without vetoing everything. I don't know why this camera sits at such a crooked angle. It's like the camera's like cockeyed or something. I don't know. Okay, April 10th, safe, legal, and rare. Okay, the president vetoes certain late-term abortions, including the partial birth abortions, which don't even get me started on that. I am very pro-life. April 29th, Gore and the DNC finance scrutiny. It was held at a Buddhist temple in Los Angeles, and it was to raise money, or they raised more than $60,000. However, it seems shady. So we'll get into that in a little bit, a few months down. May 15th, troops remain in Bosnia for a further 18 months as peacekeeping. May 28th, the Whitewater fraud trial. Jim and Susan McDougal and Arkansas Governor Jim Guy Tucker are convicted of fraud. All of them were friends of Clinton, and this has to do with the raising of the money for the Democratic National Convention. August 21st, expanding the health care coverage. It allows workers who lose or change jobs to keep their insurance. I don't know if that was considered part of COBRA, but I thought I had already talked about that. I didn't really go into detail on that one either. Didn't look into that. August 22nd, the welfare was reconstructed. So it was called the Welfare to Work Bill. It gives personal responsibility and work opportunity reconciliation act. That's what it's called. No longer entitled. People were no longer entitled to cash. You'll have to forgive me. My pen was running out of ink, so a lot of this is like I'm trying to read what I wrote. People were no longer entitled to cash assistance. Families only received help, federal help, for a total of 5 years. Again, I didn't look into that, so I don't know if that program is still in effect or what. September 3rd, missile strikes Iraq for the third time. A cruise missile goes against Iraq. Saddam Hussein, who I affectionately call Satan Insane, was laying siege in Erbil in northern Iraq. So that's why we fired a missile at him. September 24th, the UN bans nuclear weapons testing. November 5th, Clinton is reelected. He defeats Senator Bob Dole, a Republican from Kansas, by 41%. He is the first Democratic president reelected since FDR. And we all remember FDR. That took like 7 videos because I didn't have editing software at the time. He served 12 years, actually, FDR did. He was the FDR, to give you a little bit of trivia for those of you that are fairly new to my series here. Franklin Roosevelt was the only president that served more than 2 terms, and it was during his term in office who, in my opinion, I think he's the greatest president this country has ever had. He's the one that said presidents can only serve 2 terms. So a maximum of 8 years, unless that changes in the future. But FDR was the only president we had that served more than 8 years. And he died during the 4th term of his presidency. December 5th, Madeleine Albright becomes the Secretary of State. She's the first woman to hold that position. 1997, March 11th, fundraising investigation begins. The Senate votes 99-0 to investigate improper and illegal practices, going back to that Democratic fundraiser. March 21st, further nuclear negotiations begin, which is START 3 between Clinton and Yeltsin. It was ratified in January of 96. That was START 2. April 24th, the chemical weapons become illegal. Chemical Weapons Convention, it bans the development, production, stockpiling, and use of chemical weapons. Although I think chemical weapons are still being used today in maybe the Middle East and maybe even in North Korea. I don't know. Maybe May 2nd, eliminating the budget deficit. It was a 5-year budget plan. Now, here we start with the scandal. The one lady that you guys do know about that Clinton did admit to being inappropriate with was not the first person that he did have sexual liaisons with. May 27th, Paula Jones' lawsuit. The Supreme Court rules that she can pursue sexual harassment lawsuit against Clinton. So she was the first one to come forward that I remember. August 5th, the balanced budget was signed. The budget will be balanced by the year 2002. October 3rd, no major campaign finance violations, and Janet Reno states that. So that whole thing was then dropped. October 28th, Zeman makes a state visit. President Jiang Zemin of China makes a state visit to the U.S. with Clinton. Again, please forgive me if I'm mispronouncing these names. October 31st, stabilizing Southeast Asia. Clinton orders the U.S. contribute $3 billion for Indonesian bailout, totaling $22 billion plus. 1998, January 20th, Clinton denies the Lewinsky allegations. She was a former White House intern, Monica Lewinsky. Now, that's the one that everybody knows Clinton for. And of course, you remember he was quoted as saying, "I did not have sexual relations with that woman." He later recanted that and said, "Yes, I did." He never admitted to having sex with her. He said he had an inappropriate sexual relationship with her. So, March 22nd, Clinton leaves for Ghana. It was a 6-country, 12-day tour of Africa. It highlights the history of American slavery. April 2nd, Jones' lawsuit was dismissed. So, Paula Jones. The judge dismisses the Paula Jones lawsuit. Didn't go into a lot of details. April 10th, the Good Friday Peace Accords between the Catholics and the Protestants in Northern Ireland. Although I do know today that they are still fighting in Belfast. Maybe not as much, but they're still separate. They're kind of segregated. August 7th, embassies are bombed in Kenya and Tanzania. It kills 224 people, including 20 Americans in Kenya and 11 people in Tanzania. Again, that is also highlighted in that movie, Path to 9/11. August 20th, Clinton orders a strike. It's a retaliatory strike at the Al-Qaeda camps. Again, Path to 9/11. Now, this I find interesting. Remember, we're in 1998 here. September 11th, report released on Lewinsky affair, also known as the Starr Report. 2 days earlier, Kenneth Starr stated he may have grounds for impeachment of the president. October 23rd, the Wye River Memo, YWYE. After 9 days in rural Michigan, Israel leader Benjamin Netanyahu and Yasser Arafat reach an agreement. Israeli troops will leave the West Bank in 3 stages. Now, they were fighting, the Israelis and the Palestinians were fighting over a land that was even smaller than the state of Rhode Island. I don't understand why these countries want to go after these little pieces of land, claiming them for their own, and they make a big stink about it. I don't get that. December 19th, the House votes to impeach Clinton. Charges are perjury and obstruction of justice. The Senate acquitted Clinton on February 12th, 1999. So now we're into 1999. January 20th, Clinton gives the State of the Union address. March 24th, NATO attack on Serbia, responding to aggression in Kosovo and Albania because of ethnic cleansing. April 20th, which I find interesting, this was not on a website. I had to actually go by memory on this. April 20th, 1999. But you know what I'm getting ready to say? There was a mass shooting at Columbine. Columbine is outside of Littleton, Colorado. Two shooters, and I will not say their names because I don't feel they need notoriety, entered the high school and shot up the school. 12 students and one teacher were killed, mostly in the library. 21 were injured. It was the worst school shooting since the University of Texas bell tower shooting on August 1st of 1966, in which 17 people died and 31 were injured. All that, I looked that up. June 10th, NATO-Serbia campaign ends. So finally, we're leaving Serbia alone now. October 13th, the underground nuclear tests were upheld. Okay, now this I looked up because I found this very interesting because I thought we were still testing nuclear weapons. In December of 2019 was the last nuclear test, and the testing sites are now all dormant. So I looked that up. November 15th, the trade with China. U.S. and China agree to a treaty. It goes into effect after China joins the World Trade Organization, or the WTO. And now we're into 2000. Now, I didn't really do much research about this, and you can do your own research, but at the end of 1999, everybody was in a panic because of Y2K. None of the computers were going to work because the dates were going to go to 00, and everybody thought everything was going to fall apart. There'd be no electricity, there'd be no utilities, all the computer systems would go down. It was crazy. Nothing happened. Okay, so that's Y2K. You can look that up. 2000, February 1st, it was the longest economic expansion in history. It lasts 8 years and 11 months. We are finally almost done, and I think I still have a good time. March 8th, my birthday, permanent trade relations with China. Clinton signs the bill on October 10th. The House secured it on May 24th, and the Senate secured it on September 19th. June 3rd, the first summit with Putin, we all know about him, agreed to strategic arms reduction, and there was a disagreement over the research and development of the missile defense system. July 11th, Israeli Peace Summit. Clinton hosts Israel leader Ehud Barak, which I found interesting, and Yasser Arafat at Camp David. There was no agreement reached. August 14th, the Democrats nominate Al Gore, Vice President Al Gore versus Republican Governor George W. Bush of Texas. George W. Bush, George Sr.'s son. September 20th, Independent Counsel concludes. Robert Ray announces his investigation doesn't have enough evidence to indict Clinton over the Whitewater scandal. October 7th, disputed Serbian elections. President Slobodan Milosevic declares, I'm trying to remember how to pronounce this, Vojislav Kostunica as the president. November 7th, a contest election. Florida wants a recount due to their ballots because of the chads on the ballots. They use like a stylus or something to poke the the paper through, and some of the little pieces of paper didn't fall all the way through. They called them chads. So there was a very close race between Gore and Bush at the time. It was a big news story. But the Supreme Court declines it, so Al Gore announces that President Bush wins the presidency. So 2001, January 20th, George W. Bush was inaugurated. So hopefully I can get through these next few presidents and catch us up all the way through Trump, because obviously Biden is president now. Hopefully by the end of the month, or at least by the middle of April. So I will have a big announcement to make to all of you very soon in my next video. I don't know if I'll make it today or at some other point, because I want to include a massive snow mound that is at a local mall here that I did a Facebook Live video at, but I never filmed it, and that was back in January. And I imagine this snow mound is even higher because we've gotten even more snow. Obviously, I am feeling better now. So, in any case, that is the conclusion for President Clinton for today. So, the next video in our presidential highlights video is going to be our 43rd president, which is George W. Bush. And of course, we know what happened in the first 9 months of, or at the 9-month time of Bush's presidency. We all know that story. That whole "where were you when?" So that will be big news for the next video. So thank you for joining me today. I'm sure I'm running out of time here, but thank you for joining me today, Bill Clinton. Please continue to watch my videos. I hope to be making some more Adventures with Chloe videos very, very soon in a completely different state. And you guys will get them sometime in April. That's all I'm going to say at this point. So I hope you guys are enjoying this. Please comment below and let me know who you think up to this point through Clinton, who has been your favorite president and why? Who do you think was our greatest president? Who do you think was our worst president? Of course, we all know there was one president that only served 1 month, exactly 1 month actually, before he died. So nothing really happened during his term of office. So continue to watch these. Continue to watch the Adventures with Chloe videos. I'm pretty much done with the Trip Down Memory Lane videos. So thanks for joining me today. We'll see you guys on the next one. You guys have a sunny day.